Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has a lot of materia builds and things that you can do and good combos, and here are some of the most fun ones that I have come up with. Now, some of these may be really good and some of these may just be fun to use. I don't know if all of these are going to be practical of a hard mode, but these are some of the best ones that I've found. I know everyone thinks of enemy skill with the plasmic discharge, and obviously that's a nice build, but I think this one's a little bit more fun, or funny to say the least. So if you have enemy skill and HP absorb, you can use self-destruct on Tifa and you will be able to blow up all the enemies. You can make it even better if you put a warding and a subversion on her, and this way she will not die to the effects of self-destruct. But also if you put the barrier or mana ward on top of that with a regen, she won't even go below half health, and then the explosion will actually heal her. It's a little bit more of a setup, but it's a lot more fun to do this way in my opinion. Speaking of that, I've gone over this before, but the MP absorb with fire when you have synergy and HP absorb, and you can use this with any spell that you want if you combine all of these. So this is set up so every single time someone uses an ATB charge with synergy, she'll cast a fire, and then she'll also get HP and MP back. This is very valuable for hard mode. But other fun combos with synergy are going to be Petrify and Quake, and then Comet. Comet you can't really pair with another thing, but it's very nice to get a 29 MP cost spell every single time that use an ATB action. But with Petrify, there are 2 in the game, so you could tie it with a synergy and an HP absorb. And if you really wanted to, you could tie it with the swift cast materia, so the Quake cast actually goes up a little bit faster. Personally, I would tie the swift cast to Comet because it's a large cast time, even though you can't pair it with synergy. Even though synergy and Comet is probably the best use of Comet overall. Another one that I think a lot of people have talked about is Magnify and Healing. This just means when you cast regen, it'll go on everybody on your team. This is a very good combination, and you can even tie it with Autocast. So you can have Autocast and healing on your entire team. You can't pair Autocast and Magnify to get cure on everyone whenever someone's low, but you can tie Autocast to healing so that when someone in your party gets low, they will get healed. You can pair this also with a revival, so as long as Barrett in this case has an ATB charge, if someone dies he will automatically res them, granted he has the MP for it. There are points where you want to tie it to cleansing, so that means every single time that you get hit with Petrify or something, there are some moments in the game where you're going to get hit with Petrify, that if you have Autocast and cleansing on, for example, anytime say your character that you're using like Cloud gets hit with a Petrify, Barrett will automatically Asuna him and they'll be out of whatever debuff that is. One thing to note that's sort of a disadvantage with this is they will automatically use the ATB charge, so just be mindful of that. Just having them, if you like to have your characters on the side use their ATB charges, that's not bad, but if you want to keep their ATB charges for certain fights, that might be a downside. Same thing with the auto weapon abilities, you can have these on so they automatically use their ATB charges, but that just takes away from the ones that you are able to control, just like the Autocast. Next things that everyone likes to talk about is going to be Elemental. Obviously you can tie this to a weapon, and it's probably best to be used with the lightning and wind or fire and ice, so you're doing 2 damage effects, but on the armor side, I think it might be even more valuable because this allows you to absorb enemy damage taken, so now you absorb lightning and wind damage. I think fire ice is slightly better here as an absorb, but I'm just showing you this as an example. This is like a pretty good thing to have, especially in hard mode where you'll absorb any incoming lightning damage now. One thing to note though, you can only have 1 elemental slot in your armor, so just keep that in mind when you're deciding what you want to be immune to or absorb, because you aren't going to be able to put both fire and ice and wind and lightning at the bottom and just be ignoring all elemental damage. Same to be said on the weapon side. You can't put all of them in one weapon slot and do like all types of damage. You're gonna have to use the elemental skill or enemy skill materia with plasmic discharge in order to get that effect to happen. And my last and starting to become my favorite build is actually taking advantage of the limit support materia with Yuffie on the full ATB Yuffie spam everything that you want and then get as much ATB charges for your allies as possible. So you can tie this with the HP absorb and enemy skill in these slots if you want. I personally would rather have healing on the character that I'm using, and then you just put skill master on her, ATB assist, first strike, ATB stagger, and then speed up. I think those are everything that you're going to need for that. And then you just make sure that she has the limit support materia. I added this just so that if I happen to be using a block, I get more ATB. You want to put everything on her to generate as much ATB as possible. And with the limit support materia, she will get no ATB at all. However, she's making enough ATP and doing enough damage where your two teammates, I was using Barret and Cloud mostly, are going to be able to spam their limit break, so you don't really need it on Yuffie. Other good characters that you might want to use it on is going to be Aerith, because there are points where her LB is just for healing and you don't really want to use it. But note, it's about damage taken and damage received. So if you're not going to be using Aerith a lot, the limit support isn't going to be very utilized on her. And just note that whoever you put this on isn't going to have use of their LB at all. So I tie this on Yuffie, and then I make sure Cloud has the accessory that allows him to start at level 2 limit break. So now he can start out the fight. He doesn't start out with the fight, but he has access to Ascension right away. And with how fast Yuffie is doing damage and generating ATB and limit charge, Cloud usually gets a ATB charge on hard mode quite efficiently. Another thing too with the Yuffie build, you could tie your limit siphon on to him or whoever. So say you really wanted Cloud to get an Ascension really early, you just put the limit siphon on Cloud. And then while Yuffie's generating ATP and limit charge for everyone, she won't have any. So if your party is Barret and Cloud will be generating all of the LB. And then he can just take my allies' LB and then use back-to-back Ascensions. So it's a pretty good handy dandy combo. I found it really fun. It's got some practicality in hard mode even, so I would recommend trying it out a little bit just to see what happens and see if you like it. But yeah, those are some of the best combos for materia that I found, and generally all of these builds will work on anyone. You could use the self-destruct on Barret if you wanted. You could use the self-destruct on Red if you wanted. You could use it on Cloud if you wanted. You could use this ATP charge build and not generate any LB on Tifa if you wanted. The ATP works on Barret and Cloud as well. The LB support works on Aerith and Tifa as well. I've tried it out. I just find that it works best on Yuffie. It works best on people that you're controlling. If you like the plasmid discharge, that works on Cloud. It works on Yuffie. It works on Tifa. It works on Red just fine. So all of these builds are pretty interchangeable. You can put them on anyone. If you want Barret to be casting fire on everyone with synergy while getting MP and HP back, he can do that. If you want Cloud to do it, Cloud can do that. So don't think any of these builds are tied to one specific person. They are very interchangeable, and you can definitely flex around and play with it and see what you find is best. But yeah, I found this incredibly fun, so I hope you find it helpful as well. And as always, I hope you have a great day.